this. Welcome back to another episode of the $1 Million Body Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Nate. Today, we're going to be talking about cardio. Should you do it before your workout or after your weight training for maximum effect on your physique? When I say that, what I mean is for maximum fat loss, for maximum dropping pounds, looking better, being able to rock that swimsuit come summertime if pools or beaches ever open back up. So this is a question that a lot of people have. I get asked a lot, like what's more effective for fat loss? Is it cardio or is it weights? And then also, when should I do my cardio? Should I do it before or should I do it after weights? And so I'm going to tell you an analogy that I came up after I studied some of the energy pathways. Okay, so I'll try to make this super simple. I'm always really good at that. Maybe that's a little sarcastic. And then I'll tell you the analogy I came up with that caused a physiology professor to email me and tell me that I was a disgrace to the industry. Just a second. So first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of my clients right now. They are doing an amazing job hitting their goals and just being really, really consistent. I got to say, Ryan, if you're watching this or listening to this, you've been crushing it this last week. And I just love to see checking the boxes. And I know we talk a lot about that from a client coach perspective. Is just not about necessarily did you hit your numbers, but did you check all your boxes this week? Did you input your weights? Did you hit your workouts? Did you get your cardio? And did you stretch? Did you meal prep? And it doesn't really matter how good of a job you did in the grand scheme of things. But if you are doing those behaviors on a daily basis, I just got to say, I'm really proud of you. Keep up the good work there. All right. So when we're talking about fat burning, we want to talk a little bit about how your body stores fat, and then the two different processes. One is the anaerobic process and one is the aerobic process. Basically, simplify it, aerobic is cardio. That's running, biking, swimming, rowing, anything that's going to be a longer term, like 90 seconds plus of effort. And the other is anaerobic. Anaerobic is going to be that weightlifting, sprinting, short-term bursts of energy that require just a little bit of a different pathway. Okay, so anaerobic pathway is the lactic acid system. That's why you say, I feel the lactic acid, I feel the burn. And then the aerobic system is the oxygen pathway. So the anaerobic pathways, the weight pathways, they use a chemical reaction system that leaves lactic acid or nitrogen as a byproduct, which is kind of responsible for that burst you get after hiking up a long hill, doing a sprint, doing a bicep curl burnout. So it's great for short-term activities. And one molecule of glycogen in this anaerobic pathway converts to 3 ATP. ATP just stands for adenosine triphosphate, and is what our muscles use to create energy from the glycogen. So the glycogen, we talk a lot about blood sugar, glucose turning into glycogen. Glycogen turns into ATP, allows our muscles to get powered up. The aerobic system uses an even more complicated chemical reaction to break down glycogen into ATP using oxygen. So it just takes a little bit longer to do that. So that's why you breathe harder when you're doing cardio than when you're doing weights, okay? So this is great for long duration, medium intensity activities like jogging, rowing, swimming, things like that, okay? Each molecule of glycogen in this pathway can be broken down into 32 molecules of ATP. Okay, so real quick, one molecule in anaerobic pathway gets broken down into 3 ATP, and one molecule in the oxygenated pathway gets broken down into 32 ATP, which allows you to do more work over a longer period of time, which is cool. Also why it takes a little longer to kind of get into it. If you've ever been running and you're like 8 minutes in and you're like, okay, I can actually do this. I'm feeling okay. It's no problem. That's the oxygen or aerobic pathway at work, okay? So when you do your cardio before your workout, what you're doing is you're starting to train your aerobic energy system. So what that's going to do is it's going to raise your heart rate. It's going to give you a little bit more long-term energy because, like I said, one glycogen turns into 32 ATP, which is a lot more to burn through than the 3 that you get doing weights, right? So if we're trying to get rid of our maximum amount of glycogen, like the blood sugar that gets into our muscle cells that gives us energy, if we want to get through that because we want to burn maximum amount of fat, and the goal here is burning fat. Stay with me. I'm saying a lot of science words right now, but stay with me because I think this is important. If you want to get through the maximum amount of glycogen, it makes more sense to do the weight training because you're going to get only a 3-to-1 conversion. So every 3 ATP you work through, you have to get one more molecule of glycogen. The faster you burn that off, the faster you can get to fat stores. So if you're doing a cardio workout first, what's going to end up happening is you are going to raise your heart rate, you're going to convert to the aerobic pathways, and you're going to have your heart rate elevated for your entire workout. So it's going to take you longer to get through all that muscle glycogen. It's going to take you a longer period of time to get through all that muscle glycogen. Okay, so what's going to end up happening is, like, let's say, just for, like, this is not even a real number, but like, let's say you have 100 points of glycogen you want to get through, because after you finish the glycogen, then you can start burning more fat. Well, if you're using the anaerobic, the weight training pathways, it's going to take you less time, because each one only converts to 3 ATP, and you can burn through 3 ATP pretty fast. But if you're converting those from the cardio pathways, each one of those, you're going to end up with 3,200 ATP rather than 300 ATP. So that makes sense? So it's going to take you longer to get through it. However, when you're doing cardio, you're elevating your heart rate. And if you've ever done cardio before a hardcore weight training session, you'll know what I mean, is that you stay in an elevated heart rate the entire time. It's hard to come back down. So it's really good if your goal is weight loss. If you have 40 plus pounds to lose of weight, you just need to get this weight off, then this can be a great option, doing your cardio before your workout, because you're going to burn more calories throughout the entire workout, because your heart rate was elevated early in the workout, and you're never going to really be able to catch a break and recover from your cardio to your weight training session. So doing cardio before weights is a great way to burn more calories and lose more weight. Okay, so if you have just weight to get rid of, cardio before your workout is a good option. But that's not it. That's not all. Because if you're looking to burn more fat, if you're 30 pounds to your goal weight, then doing your cardio after your workout is going to enable you to take down that muscle glycogen. You're going to deplete that faster through resistance training. And then the cardiovascular training, the cardio you do after your weights, is going to be a lot more effective at actually burning fat. You're going to burn a higher percentage of fat while you do that training versus if you had done it up front. So you might not burn as many calories, but the higher percentage of them will be coming from fat if you do weights first and then cardio. All right, so here's what I wrote in this, and by the way, I wrote this in a Huffington Post article. So I was feeling kind of like hot shit when I wrote this. And I said something to the effect of, think about fat as digging for gold. You have to get through some layers of dirt and rock, which is like your muscle glycogen, before you can get to the gold. So doing cardio first is like digging for gold with a shovel. Getting through a single layer requires 32 scoops to be removed. You eventually see gold, but it'll take a while. Doing resistance training first is like showing up to the same dig site with a backhoe. Now only 3 scoops are required to get through 1 layer thanks to your diesel-fueled machinery. This is what I said in the article, and I was like, man, that's a cool analogy. I took the energy systems and I said that, okay, the 3 versus 32, and I made it easy to understand, right? Because like that makes a lot more sense, and I feel like that's really good. And so this guy sends me an email like a couple of days later, and he goes, I'm an exercise physiology professor, and I have to say that, I'll just read it because I found it. Your explanation of the metabolic pathways is remarkably inaccurate. This type of misinformation is what we in academia are trying to stop, and it's only being perpetuated by industry professionals such as yourself that have little knowledge of physiology. You are a disgrace to the industry. Thanks, Noah Gibson. Really appreciate that. A lot of fun for me to hear that on a Thursday morning. So personally, I didn't write anything. I didn't produce any content. I didn't do anything else with my website, videos, or anything else for like 6 months because this had really hurt my feelings. So eventually I reached out to him and I contacted him and I was like, hey, thanks for taking the time to write an email to me, even though it was incredibly douchey. Really, appreciate you reaching out. Do you agree with my conclusions? Do you agree that that weights before cardio is a more effective way of burning fat versus cardio before weights is a more effective way of burning weight? And he said, well, yes, but, and then he goes on to list off all the nuances and different things. So turns out a couple things. Number one, I'm right. this is the right way to do things based on the science that I just kind of slapped into a dirty analogy that doesn't make sense from a perspective of academia. Number two, this guy has never trained a client before. He's never worked with someone who has 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 pounds to lose. He's never been in that position. So he has got no results to speak of. He's never stood by a client on the treadmill or on the hand bike because they're too heavy to get to do actual cardio, and worked with someone to drop 100, 150, 200 pounds. So a couple things here. Number one, like think about the way we're talking about cardio. When you go back to do your own personal weight training, you can decide based on what your goals are. And you can think about this analogy, even though I'm terrible, I'm filled with misinformation, I'm basically fake news. You can think about it like that as well. It takes a lot longer to dig through your muscle glycogen to get to your fat stores by doing it with cardio. It takes a lot shorter time to dig through the muscle glycogen using resistance training to get to that fat loss. So thinking about it like that, I hope that makes a difference for you, because I want you to get the best results possible when you're going out and you're actually busting your ass. I have a ton of clients who have worked with me in the past who are hard workers. They go to the gym and they run, they do the stair mill, which by the way is like the hardest machine. They do the VersaClimb, they do the rower. They're always doing the cardio because it's been so ingrained in our head that jogging is fat loss, jogging is the number one exercise, and cardio burns fat. So that's ingrained with us. So just taking these clients who are very hard workers and helping them switch the mentality from, I got to go bust ass on a cardio machine, to I got to go do a real short 35 to 45 minute resistance training workout and then end with some specific cardio, something that gets them out of the gym even faster than they were going, spending 90 minutes doing, 60 minutes doing their cardio and 30-minute workouts, doing endless amounts of crunches. I don't know if anyone else has ever been there, but though the people who are doing that are always just one or two tweaks away from seeing amazing results, but just because they don't have the correct information. So many people have the work ethic and they burn themselves out year after year, month after month, by grinding away, trying to get it through this hard work and just striving on cardio, when in reality, it's so much simpler than that. We hit the resistance training first. We do some specific cardio intervals or sprints at the end of a workout 3 to 4 times per week. And you're going to see massive results quickly. And a lot of times what's really amazing, especially for men who have muscle tissue and don't want to lose it, doing like a tuna and asparagus cleanse, is you don't lose any weight. You go from, like you're trying to get down to 180, trying to get down to 160. You don't realize that you would look better, feel better, move better, have more energy at 188. Drop 2 pounds, maintain all your muscle mass, and build a little bit of muscle and drop all that fat. So a lot of times what I see is these guys who think that they need to lose 10, 15 pounds don't actually end up having to lose that kind of weight anyways. We just switch it up where you're able to see the muscle that they already have and get some good results without grinding your way and doing a bunch of mind-numbing cardio, which for me is literally the worst. So if that's you, hopefully this is helpful for you. Hopefully this makes sense. Do you have any other questions about cardio versus weight training, how to do them effectively, or any other bad analogies that I can come up with that can give me some hate mail? That would be really helpful for me, because I think I'm more emotionally prepared to deal with getting rude messages from people now, because I don't care anymore. That's why I have a man bun. Just can't be affected by anyone's negative words. It's just So if that's ever been an issue for you, getting deeper into the cardio aspect, please let me know how I can help out there. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today was, what types of cardio should you be doing? What types of cardio should you be doing if you chose to do your weights and then your cardio afterwards? If you're choosing to do it beforehand, chances are you either have a lot more weight to lose, which, by the way, anything will work. The best type of cardio is the cardio that you're worst at. So get off a treadmill, slap on some rollerblades, and go hiking through a sandy beach somewhere, back and forth across a volleyball court, because that shit sounds terrible. So the best type of cardio is what you're least effective at. The better you get at something, the worse it is as cardio. Okay, so if you're a runner and you run all the time, then running, not good cardio for you. Maybe try an elliptical, maybe get on the rower, maybe get on the stairs. But either way, the more effective you are at something, the better you've gotten at it, the more practice you get at it, the worse it is as cardio. So for most of us, generally speaking, we don't get to do a lot of cardio with our posterior chain. So our back muscles, our glutes, our hamstrings, that sort of thing. Just a fancy trainer way of saying back of your body. So getting on a rower is actually an amazing option for our cardio because it's going to allow us to work muscles that we don't work a lot when we're sitting. And most of us, especially right now, are spending a lot of time at our desks. So if that's you, then finding a rowing machine, either at the gym or wherever, is one of the best possible ways of getting your extra cardio in. For number one, the reason we just talked about, getting that posterior chain, hitting those muscles that you don't normally hit on a regular basis. It's going to enable you to build a booty, which is great. It's going to enable you to do something that you're not very familiar with and not comfortable with, so you're going to burn more calories. And then number three, it's going to be easier on your knees because you're working your hamstrings, you're working your glutes, you're working your upper back. So you get to work a lot of different muscles in a range of motion that's kind of foreign, which is always better for making long-term gains. The other thing about rowing is that it's really awesome to be able to do interval style training. And for most guys, interval training, sprints, done in a short block of time are the most effective way to get the gains from your cardio. And so what this looks like is sets of, I would say 10 seconds to about 30 seconds. I think 30 seconds is kind of a high end. And a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, so I sprinted a minute, then I walked for 2 minutes. And you didn't sprint for a minute. It's not possible. You can't maintain your highest level of output for a minute. Most people can't maintain their highest level of output for 10 seconds. So 30 seconds is really pushing it. So I would say a comfortable medium, shooting for 15 seconds, followed by 30 to 45 seconds of rest. For best case scenario, intervals should be always a 1 to 2 work to rest ratio. Low end. 1 to 3 can be effective. I like doing things in minute blocks, so I always can just have my timer going, and I know at the minute I go, and at 15 I stop or rest or go slow. That seems to make it easier in terms of like keeping up on when you should go, when you should stop, especially when you're like 6 deep and you're like, where am I? What day is it? Why am I doing this again? And the last thing you want to do is think about do I go at 35 or 40 this time? That's just unpleasant. So the best thing you can be doing for cardio, in an ideal world, just spell this out for you guys. So 3 to 4 times per week, if you're going to the gym and doing your weights, I would do at the end of those workouts, or even on a separate day, 3 to 4 times per week doing cardio intervals. Basically what that's going to look like is 15 seconds all out. And I like a rower, a Versa climber. Stairs are harder to adjust. The assault bike is amazing, or the Airdyne bike. And then hill sprints. Those are kind of the holy grail of cardio for fat loss. Doing those, do your work, and then come back down. Don't stop completely, because that's when kind of your muscles can lock up. But go slow, take your breaths, get back to trying to keep your heart rate from pounding out of your chest, and then go again. Doing between 6 and 10 repetitions of that, so 6 to 10 minutes essentially of that cardio training post-workout can make a huge difference. So if you feel like you've been spinning your wheels for a long time, if you've been doing a lot of cardio and not seeing great results, number one, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you out in any way that I can. Number two, if you haven't been trying this type of interval training, switch it up and prioritize the weights. Go ahead with those to start, and then add in the cardio elements at the end of the workout and see how you feel. So if you have any other questions, please just drop them, leave them in the underneath this video, this podcast, or make sure you join and are a part of the $1 Million Body community on Facebook if you're not already. That's one of the best places in the world, the best fitness community on Facebook, filled with just a ton of supportive, awesome high performers who are all about that action. So just in summary, to maximize your fat burn, go weights then cardio, always going for intervals. To maximize your weight loss, if you have 40 plus pounds to lose, start with cardio, do 25 to 30 minutes, and then finish with your weight training workout. Okay. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. Make sure you're part of that $1 Million Body community on Facebook. Love to have you. And if you need anything else, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope that you're making it a great day, and we'll see you very soon.